my God, it's the BC3 Amigos. We are back here in the month of September. I cannot believe this, people. 9 months have almost passed. We are getting into the month of October. Conference season is about to begin again. And guess what? The BC3 Amigos thought it would be a great time, since we've been heavily inundated with projects involving distribution and manufacturing and other areas, that we wanted to invite one of our favorite ISVs, because we're always on the phone with him all the time and his team, but Mark Hamblin from InsightWorks. Mark, welcome to the BC3 Amigos.
Thanks very much. It was a very animated, exciting intro for us on Monday. Hopefully I can keep up with the energy.
I guess you haven't seen any of our videos before. He starts that way every time.
Every time.
Yeah, it's just, usually when we're on the call, it doesn't start as exciting as that. So,
now you're live.
We'll have to fix that. We'll have to, every time we get on the phone together, we're like, hey, how's it going? All excited. So, good. Anyway, glad it's Friday and not Monday. Maybe the coffee I had today will help me keep up.
I think the coffee is getting out of our veins, and I think the bar and the alcohol is starting to kick in, because the weekend's almost around the corner.
Well, you start early,
yeah, it's East Coast time, so you've got a couple of hours more before you get there. So
that's true.
But no, really thankful you've come here, because the three of us have been chatting about different projects we've been doing, and of course we all work together. So we're involved with a lot of things. But first and foremost, tell the audience who you are, what you do, and anything about the company you work for, InsightWorks.
Oh boy! All right. Well, I've been working with Nav and Business Central for just about 20 years now, which seems weird given that I don't think I'm much more than still in my 20s. But what I do now with InsightWorks is mostly what we call solution advisor, right? Where it's pre-sales type work, where we look at what customers are trying to do, what they need, and whether we have a solution that will fit, or we can point them off to something that might help them. That's kind of what I've been doing lately. And InsightWorks, of course, as you mentioned, a lot of warehousing, a lot of manufacturing, some of the retail stuff now we're getting into. So, that's kind of where we focus.
Perfect. We're going to go round robin. I mean, we basically, each one of us, has probably some questions and stuff like that to ask. I'll start it off. I'll just kick it off. What the heck? Why not? And then we'll just keep, asking you some questions, and certainly you'll probably intrigue us with an answer, and we'll probably have more questions. But I'm going to start off with kind of a loaded question.
Sure.
So, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing, what I call the mid-sized manufacturer today, and where do you see that challenge, and how do you address that?
Yeah, that's a good one, because there's all sorts of challenges going on, like economically, supply chains, especially if you have a global supply chain, things like that. But sort of the small to medium, if we're talking specifically about how they're running their operations, I might have a little skewed view of things, because if you're good with a hammer, everything's a nail. But managing the actual production in the facility is probably one of the biggest issues, appropriately scheduling, execution, those sorts of things, because if you're not managing that properly, you don't know where your costs are going. You don't know even what kind of workforce you need to accomplish those tasks, all of those sorts of things. If you can't plan and manage that production facility well, which is your business, right? The money coming in is a side effect of what you're doing in the shop floor. If you can't manage that well, you're not probably going to do well. So, beyond the supply chain and all those other sorts of issues that are in the mix right now, managing that shop facility is one of the key things that people struggle with.
I'm telling you, it's fascinating. I sit here and, we speak to customers on the phone. We actually travel to customers and see their facilities. But to me, it's amazing how much that the supply chain has been affecting a lot of them. And then, of course, the tariffs that now are being imposed on some of the imports, and how much that's causing that customer to change pricing, which in turn causes, a ripple effect, less orders, less revenue, less everything. And yet every time you speak to them, they're always trying to streamline something like, I need to cut costs. What else can I do? I need to cut costs. What else can I do? And, there's only so much blood you can get from a stone sometimes. I know it's in that analogy, but, when you look at different things and like, I tell, I try to explain like, okay, let's try to cut out this paper process that's slowing things down, or maybe, let's try to, minimize, or it's hard to say let's cut staff or anything like that because you feel bad about saying that sometimes, but sometimes the streamlining the process means sometimes, let's, we can streamline a little better and cut down a couple of extra bodies that have to do, say, shipping, or somebody that's has to do, shop floor or something like that, because you've got extra bodies running around when in reality, you can have two people less to do it. I mean, when you go into your conversations with customers, are a lot of them asking you kind of what you see out in the field today? Because obviously you're really crisscrossing prospects as well as active customers around the world. Are they asking you how others are kind of basically implementing best practices or streamlining the process to become more cost effective?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's often why they sort of end up on our radar, or vice versa, we end up on their radar, is because they are looking to make things a little more efficient, automate some of the, the tasks, and cut those costs, and are coming to us and you as well, to figure out sort of how to do that. And I to your other comment about, okay, well, we're going to make things more efficient. We're going to eliminate manual or paper processes or whatever it happens to be, and you'll need fewer people. I like to, it's not always the case that people can do this, but I like to think in terms of growth. Hey, now you don't have two people you have to let go. You have two people that you can use to help grow your business somewhere else in the business.
Well, Mark,
because now you're spending the same amount of money, but you have the ability to grow with the same amount of resources you have.
Yeah. But Mark, he mentioned the people who are actually moving inventory. But what about, Microsoft has now got the purchasing agent and the sales agent. Are you incorporating any of that into your products now?
Yeah. So, I mean, AI in general, we are. Those particular ones, the purchasing agent doesn't really, touch much of what we do. I mean, it does tangentially. But the sales order agent, more in our counter sales solution, where it's more, sort of retail focused and things like that. But in a broader sense, that, they call it agentic AI with agents, is kind of what everybody's going to need to move towards. So we've got a bunch of AI capabilities in the products already, and that does help improve efficiencies, and in a lot of cases helps eliminate some of that change management that occurs, because you can use AI to sort of streamline the changes that are occurring as I go to new systems, which I can get into more if you like. But yeah, those agents that Microsoft's put out, that's really an initial glimpse of the future. From a development perspective, I used to say, and this is going back decades, you want more value per click was my fun term, which is maybe sounds lame, but what that meant was really we want employees to have to put the least amount of effort possible into using a system to get the most value back. Right. So if I could do one click and perform all my tasks with a single click, that's what we're aiming for. And that was always, like a goal you could never attain. You couldn't just click one button and have it do everything. Well, now you can, because now you got these agents that can actually do that higher level, work, where I don't even have to click. Just something could come in like an email on the sales order agent, and the system does everything for me. So, yeah, agents in general, I think, is kind of the holy grail that we've been after for decades, and now we have, some inkling of what they can do from Microsoft and others, and Microsoft, doing their AI stuff, their MCP server, their agents, that shows you what's kind of coming down the line.
I asked if he was building any agents. Do you have your own?
We have a bunch of AI stuff. We haven't done agents in there yet, but that's coming. And Microsoft is releasing their MCP server for Business Central soon, and that's really going to drive, I think, a ton of people to build agents, like almost anybody. You go on a Copilot Studio, like Copilot, and you could build an agent that talks to Business Central very quickly and easily with that MCP server. So, I think that's going to be where everything starts exploding. So the AI that we've done a lot of Copilot. We've got a lot of generative AI stuff in there, like for the configurator and quality inspections and invoice reconciliations and things like that. But we haven't done agents yet. But that is definitely, it's going to happen.
And the future is crazy. What's coming at us. I was looking at just basic Copilot stuff in Business Central the other day, and just doing some of the summary. Yeah, okay. It told me, some basic stuff about a customer, but then it went further and it told me that how often they're late and all of these other things. I was like, whoa, that's not something we would normally look up, but to have that information when you go to process that sales order, or that you need something from a vendor and it's slow coming, it gives you more information to get more work done faster, right? So it's hard to wrap your mind around how much this is going to change what we do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Mark, and here's an interesting question. Kim, do you have one before do you have a question?
I was going to ask about like maintenance management and quality. How are those products doing? Are you seeing those used more than normal with the current times?
Yeah, our quality inspector product, quality management, has been one of the fastest growing products that we've released. We've had it for years, but it was always embedded with our shop floor solution. We split that out. And yeah, there's a huge uptick in it. And that does incorporate a bunch of AI capabilities as well for, some of that change management stuff I mentioned. If people are in paper-based quality, they can stay on that, but still have the value of the electronic records, because the AI will read that handwritten piece of paper, suck it in, and turn it into an electronic quality record. Not just a picture of it, but read the text out, OCR it, and bring it in. But yeah, the quality management, quality inspectors is what we call it, has seen a big uptick. And Microsoft is coming out with quality management in Business Central in December, because it is a big ask from a lot of customers. And then on the maintenance, the other one that you asked for, that one for us at least, we're not out there trying to compete with the big EAM guys and things like that. That really fills that gap that we see a lot in manufacturing organizations specifically, even though you can use it elsewhere, which is the production asset maintenance, right? Like, okay, you can plan stuff in Business Central, you can schedule it, you can execute, you can do all that, but nowhere in there are you taking into account what's happening from a maintenance perspective. So we have a nice little module, nice lightweight module, very quick and easy to get up and running, because that's the biggest failure point when we're talking about CMMS or enterprise asset management is everybody wants it. Nobody can put it in because it takes too long. It's too hard. Ours is very quick and easy to get up and running. And now you've got that functionality that sort of fills that gap where production doesn't know what maintenance is doing. Maintenance doesn't know what production wants. Those sorts of things we've got covered. Right?
Yeah. You said Microsoft's adding a quality piece. How's that going to impact what you're doing? Or do you know yet?
I do. You'll hear more about that in Poland, or in Poznan. You're not going to Poznan, but for those partners that are going to direction, Microsoft will have more news on it there. But we know what's in it. It's going to be a sort of a foundation version, like less capability than what we offer. So I suspect that it will actually help us and other people that sell quality modules, because now you've got something built into Business Central, and you're like, you're right, I do need quality. And look, I can do it here, but I need this, and this in addition to what's in Business Central. And they'll go out and look. So I think you'll actually find more people trying to implement a quality, like an electronic quality system, once it's in Business Central than people would have done before. And for a subset of those people, what's in Business Central won't quite be enough, and they'll go out looking for a third party to do it, whether it's us or somebody else. That's my guess. I could be completely. I don't know what I talk about half the time.
Going off of what Kim said on the quality side, when you interact with obviously the food and beverage or anything that requires, even pharma, or in medical even, or medical equipment and stuff. Do you see a lot of, now that you have the quality out there, we're seeing a lot of uptick now where people wanting to actually get that quality built in. You mentioned early on that you said it's the hottest, it's been the hottest app that you have for, in a while, like speeding out the door. But are you seeing people who are implementing this for those industries that they're always including quality to it, or are it's just being overlooked and they just keep forgetting about it?
That's a good question. So I guess it varies. It depends on the customer coming in. If it's net new to Business Central and they're migrating from another platform, quite often they're grabbing quality initially. Others, they've already got a quality system, an external system to Nav or even to Business Central or whatever, and they're going to continue to use that, and they're not going to sort of find a native Business Central solution. So yeah, it is a little bit all over the map still. I don't think there's a specific trend. I would say, I don't know if it's 50-50 or what the ratio is, but some people stay with sort of the external systems they're already using because it's baked into their processes and culture. Others they're moving all their disparate systems, to Business Central. So they've got one, source of the truth and everything else that you get with a, sort of a comprehensive ERP.
Hey, Mark. While we're talking together for an audience, it would be remiss if we didn't point out that you provide a lot of products for free. And I have clients that, they ask me about different products, and I recommend, obviously, if it's free, that they at least try it with you guys. Do you have any new free ones, or is there any special ones that you want to mention that are, what's the number one that you've got that's free, and then what's maybe something that you got coming up?
Interesting.
Free advertising.
Yeah, and it's good, and those free things, we advertise it here, or we talk about them, of course, because we want people to use them, but really it's people can grab them, install them, modify the heck out of them, do whatever they want with them, and they never have to talk to us ever. We do send one email after they install it to say, do you need help? Here's some links. Other than that, you're good. You grab it, it's yours. You don't have to talk to us, register, or anything else. So we try and make them truly free. There's no catch. In other words, you're not going to have to jump through a bunch of hoops with us to register to get it. Anyway, so no catches on any of this stuff. And the vast majority, it's not like a, what do they call it? A lost leader or whatever. Okay, try or bait and switch, try the free one. And that gets you this far. And then you got to jump to this paid thing. We don't do that. The only one where we have that sort of migration from free to paid is our WMS Express product, which is, the warehouse management. And most people, before they decide whether they're going with the free or the paid, they'll know which one is going to work for them. And if they go with the free, they're going to use that probably for the entirety of the time they use Business Central. We've actually had more people go from the paid version to the free version than the other way around, right? They go, hey, we got the paid version, and look, we're only using these three things out of it. Why are we paying for everything else? Let's go to the free version, and we're good. And I love it. So we've got lots of that stuff. I think the more comprehensive ones are the graphical scheduler, which is a nice way to visualize what's happening in Business Central, drag and drop. We've got a lot of partners that have customized it, embedded the charting in their own pages and all sorts of stuff. And again, you don't even have to tell us you're doing it. And so that's gotten a lot of traction. We've got several thousand installs of that. Overall, we've probably got, I think it's in the range of 15,000 customers roughly now using the free stuff. So graphical scheduler, the Ordership Express, which honestly doesn't get enough love, where it's, you can generate your shipping labels and get your rates and everything right from within Business Central. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get discounted rates on a bunch of carriers as well. And WMS Express. The latest two that we put out were the Enhanced Planning Worksheet and the Enhanced Forecasting Worksheet. So if you need basic forecasting, sales forecast. What's that?
Those are free. I didn't know those were free.
They're free, yeah, absolutely. You can pay for them if you want. We still have the paid version. But the only catch on the free versions is it's one concurrent user. So you can have as many people using it as you want during the day, but you only have one person using it at a time. Yeah, Enhanced Planning Worksheet, Enhanced Forecasting Worksheet are free now as well. And we got safety logbook. There's a whole bunch of them out there that really do help. They fill those little gaps, in some cases bigger gaps, but they fill all those gaps within Business Central, and we try and make it as easy as possible for people to grab them and use them.
It's fascinating. You talk about, that you offer these free apps to fill the gaps, that Business Central doesn't have out of the box. We talk about, how each of the different products that you offer are really addressing things that, I guess, prospects, people who obviously want to implement Business Central. So let me ask you a question. You've been around this 20 years now. I can't even fathom how many customers you have across the board, and how many implementations your team has helped, implement and assist partners in implementing, like you do us. But what advice would you really give to a company who is just implementing Business Central for the first time, but needs to look at areas that are, I don't want to say deficient because that's not the right verbiage, but almost like where they need to look at certain functionality that are like an InsightWorks provides that certified solution, free and not free. What advice would you give when somebody's actually trying to think about this?
I mean, this is a little self-serving, but I guess the first thing I do is say, check out the InsightWorks stuff and see if there's anything in there that you need, right? Whether it's free or paid. But the free stuff, is so easy to grab. I would do that. There's lots of stuff on AppSource that's free as well, beyond our solutions. I think the first is figuring out where those gaps might be. And even if they may not even realize it's a gap, there might just be better ways of doing something that's available out there as an add-on for free, like our doc extender product, right? All it does is add drag and drop into Business Central. And you're going, well, Business Central has drag and drop now. It never used to, so that's why we built doc extender, because figured, hey, this is a nice little thing people will want. But now you're also able to store those documents in SharePoint, and it actually makes the drag and drop easier than Business Central, fewer clicks, right? More value per click kind of deal. And it's free, right? So you think, okay, I can do drag and dropping in BC, but if I use this little tool, then I've got a lot more I can do with it, and it makes it simpler and everything else. I mean, checking out what we have first, of course, because I have to be a little bit salesy. No, I'm not. I'm never salesy. I try not to be anyway. If I am, just tell me to shut up. But there's lots of stuff on AppSource there that is free. Figure out the gaps and find them. Another one, just as an aside, this leads back to what's kind of the most popular free app out there, and this also is another thing that people don't necessarily think of as a gap, is being able to print barcodes from within Business Central. So now Business Central has the ability to create a report that has barcodes in it. When we first moved to Business Central, like our warehouse management solution, the Warehouse Insight, that was 2018 that we did that. There was no way to print a barcode from within Business Central on the cloud. So we built something to allow people to do that and made it free. We now do about 2 million barcodes a week through Barcode Generator. So that is getting some heavy use.
Wow.
And then there's the print node connector, same thing, cloud printing. I figured, we'll make this little print node connector, make it free. It'll be out there for 6 months before Microsoft has their own solution, and off we go. Again, that was back in 2018, and it's also one of our most popular products because it's very quick and easy. You still pay print node there $9 a month or whatever. It still annoys me I didn't charge for that. But anyway, we got several thousand people doing that, right? So we're doing, 500,000 print jobs a week or whatever it is through print node as well. So those are two of the more popular ones where you don't necessarily think of them as a gap in Business Central because, hey, I can go to Business Central, print a report. If you use the cloud printing stuff, it's just much nicer and easier, and you can do unattended printing and all sorts of good stuff.
Wow,
so, I don't know. That didn't really quite answer your question, but there you go.
No, it was great. I learned some stuff too.
Hey, Mark, I also enjoy, when you do every, I guess, week or every other week or so, you do those advertising for your products. I enjoy listening to the first 10 minutes because you're talking about all the free products. So if people aren't familiar with your free products, they can just go to one of your sales presentations and listen just for the first 15 minutes to talk about, you have all these, they look like warehouse cartons up there or cargo things, and they're all the different apps that are free. So, you also provide some entertainment out there. So,
yeah, the entertainment's mostly for myself because we do those every couple of weeks, and not that they get repetitive, but you got to shake things up sometimes. So, anyway,
so true. Mark, where do you, obviously, between manufacturing, supply chain, and distribution, obviously some of the other areas you're dabbling in, and Rob brought it up earlier, AI is really, hitting hard in the Business Central space right now, to where that functionality is going to play out. I mean, there's what is it now, 5,000 apps on AppSource or some ridiculous quantity amount. Where do you see it? Will AI shake things up a little bit and, I'm saying diminish that quantity so that, it could be more, at least reasonable for the average user to go look for a solution? Do you see some consolidation happening over the course with AI now taking a larger, AI is becoming more prominent and Microsoft's talking about it so much every wave now. Do you see AI kind of shaking the trees and watching things drop off because some players just don't want to get into it and they're going to fall by the wayside?
Yeah. So on the last one, there are a lot of people that jumped into AppSource and put out extensions on AppSource. And you have to jump through a few hoops to do that, but it's not a lot. But I think after a while, they realize the ongoing maintenance of maintaining what they're doing on AppSource is painful. And AppSource, isn't driving people to the apps necessarily right now. Most of that education about what's out there is coming from partners like yourselves and other things. But from an AI perspective, yes, my thoughts, and I don't know if they're right or not, but around sort of the deployment of Business Central, there will be a lot more AI guidance going forward, right? So for the basic implementations, you may not need a consultant, or you'll need very little consulting to be able to do that. And part of that will be describing your problem and having the AI solution sort of, do a curated list of apps from AppSource and other things that can solve that particular problem. I think that's sort of the first step. Is you're going to have more AI curation based on your specific problems and everything else, all the data that sees a Business Central, which apps might be a good fit for that. So rather than you going and typing in WMS and AppSource and seeing 60 results and wondering, what do I do with this? You'll have some more, you'd have your assistant there, your co-pilot, as Microsoft calls it, your co-pilot to help fly the plane into the app you need. That's not a good visual image, but anyway.
I just see that.
And then down the road, what I actually think is going to happen is, and it's you can do it today to a certain extent. So I think the writing's already on the wall. This isn't a far out prediction, but people will describe what they want, and the system will build it for them, right? So they'll say, "Hey, I need a field on the sales header that tracks this for the customer, and when it's this value, I want this discount applied," or whatever, those sorts of things. And it's going to be able to build out that extension for you sort of on the fly, right, in real time. So I don't know how many years away we are from that. You could almost do that today with a lot more manual effort using AI, but I see that coming. So there'll be probably less reliance on apps and more reliance on extensions, but those extensions are going to be built and maintained through AI, I think. That's my prediction.
That's an interesting observation or thought.
Yeah.
It really is.
Good thing I'm retiring.
I was going to say, it's like, so what are we needed for? Like nothing?
Yeah. Well, on those, there's always going to be a need for consultants, but on those smaller jobs, you get somebody that's going from, QuickBooks or simple production system or whatever. Yeah, they're the people that would probably attempt to do it on their own anyway are now going to actually be able to do it on their own versus get halfway through and phone you and go, "Hey, Kim, I need help because I wrecked something." So maybe in the future they won't be doing that. I don't know.
It's a big product and does so many things. I have a hard time picturing how you could tell it something that you want and really get what you ask for. You've seen the cartoon where the person describes that they want a tire swing on a branch of a tree, and what they end up getting is like a tire hung up in the tree with, all kinds of nowhere near is it a swing. And that's what I envision, something happening. I think it's very hard for users to think about all the gotchas when they ask for something. I mean, we write it down now when they say it, and you try to ask, well, what do you want to do when this happens? And that never happens, right? Yeah. And of course, first time out, it does. I think I hope we're a little further down the road for that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening next year or anything like that, but I do think that that's the future. I mean, today you're at that point, where it's not going to give you exactly what you want, most likely, based on the customer's description of the problem, but it's getting pretty close. Like, I mean, there's still a lot of manual work and things like that, but it's pretty scary what you can accomplish when you dig into it a little bit.
So Mark, you bring up though, and I like the thought that we're going to be at that point where we can say, hey, I need you to post a cash receipt, or hey, I've got these checks, please create a cash receipt journal for me. But I go back to something I when I was first in BC, or I was in Navision back in the day, and I was training some folks who didn't have a lot of computer skills, and they were salespeople who didn't really use a lot of technology. And we were in their class, and I said, okay, now use your mouse to sign in. And they all picked up their mouse, and they were treating it like a remote, and they were clicking to get it to do something. But, again, now today's society has a lot more people who are using the smartphone to do stuff. But, they're still technically challenged, and those people are still going to be in the workforce, 10 years from now. And I would expect that within 10 years, the technology you're describing with being able to ask for something. But, having that person who isn't that, technically skilled, I can see them asking for something and it's not what they want. I'm concerned about that group that, the system is going to do that much more without the real ability to data enter stuff.
Well, I have that problem now, though. When I ask Copilot for something, it goes off and does something that's like, wait, that's not what I wanted. It's a skill to ask Copilot the right question. It
is, it is. And I agree. I mean, the AI to some extent is a bit overhyped currently, but the speed at which it's improving and growing, it's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong. That would be cool.
I think you're right, unfortunately.
It's coming. It's just, again, it's not next year, or probably not the year after, but it's on its way pretty quickly.
Click your heels.
Rob, you won't have to worry, Rob. You'll be gone.
I'm just going to click my heels and say, no place like home, no place like home.
Yeah.
So Mark, I mean, we've talked about a lot of subjects, and, one thing that's been, I think, on my mind lately, and I think it's on many people's minds who are listening, is, where is, supply chain headed? I mean, in terms of, obviously you've got solutions in supply chain, but I'm sure you between conferences, between industry conferences, all the R&D you're doing to kind of be ahead of the curve. AI is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong here. It does a lot of things to it, but what other things, I mean, are you really looking at for that, like to improve, like better demand forecasting or better inventory optimization, or, is there anything that, you're thinking about or you see as the hot topic or the hot few topics in the market, because of all the market shifts going on and the volatility? Where do you see kind of the next few years, other than AI? I don't want to hear the word AI right now, but where do you see? Where are you thinking, or where do you think the industry is thinking that you're involved?
Yeah, so the inventory optimization is a big topic. But and I don't know if we're losing some of the network connectivity here. It's just me, but at any rate, I think the inventory optimization is a big topic, and I think that should have always been something that people focus on. It's not something we do directly, and I know you don't want to hear the word AI, so I'll say artificial intelligence, which is different, is going to impact that area a fair amount, I think. For us, what we're focused on is really getting to that point where, you're going to, for what we deal with, we're primarily dealing with people in physical jobs, right? Like we're dealing with people on the shop floor, we're dealing with people picking stuff in the warehouse. Robotics, there's a whole discussion we can have about robotic picking and all sorts of things, but primarily we're dealing with people doing physical work. So you can't replace those people with AI yet, other than the robotic stuff, both in manufacturing and warehouse. But for the most part, we're dealing with people. Even in the retail side, like we've got a counter sales product for retail, you got people at the counter. So AI, sorry, I shouldn't say AI. So what we're doing is focusing on improving their ability to do their job and all the sort of ancillary things around that. So like in the warehouse, the order fulfillment worksheet that we put out a while ago, just to streamline the fulfillment process, those sorts of things. So we're focusing on, that automated data collection. How do we improve the physical efficiencies of the facility, pick path optimization, all those sorts of things are kind of our focus now.
It's fascinating. I mean, we all sit in front of customers. We hear all their pains and gripes and pain points and, what they were requirements. And they're all repeating the same thing over and over again. And it's like, I mean, I certainly don't have a crystal ball, and we can do the best we can to meet the requirements and, with the different apps that we provide them and solutions we provide them. But there's just some things, I mean, sadly enough, I think, you're right. I mean, I'll even use the word AI is going to be heavily involved, at least for me, when it comes to like rate shopping, for instance. I mean, I think AI is going to be a critical path there. Or when I think of planning worksheet in Business Central, where I feel the AI is going to be the ultimate model of a lifetime when it comes out to looking at demand and supply and what should I do, Mr. AI? Take this, crystal ball and say, tell me what to do, like that kind of thing. And not saying it's going to eliminate people, because that's more of just being more productive. But I mean, AI will improve so many things down the road when it finally comes to fruition and it's really, a usable tool set in those areas. So.
Well, I certainly hope AI is better than Siri.
Yeah. Well, and it was at Summit actually maybe 10 years ago where Stephen, I echoed almost exactly what you said. We were talking about MRP, and I said, and I was off by my timing, I said in 10 years, you won't have to worry about setting up planning parameters in Business Central or any of this stuff. You're going to feed all of this into, at that time, AI wasn't the big term, and it was ML, machine learning. You feed it into a machine learning model, and it's just going to figure out exactly what you need to do and spit out the numbers, and nobody's going to run MRP anymore. It's, it is MRP. It's going to plan out your material requirements and everything, but you're not going to have to do anything. You're not going to have to worry about what's my, lot accumulation period, or what's my, rescheduling period, all that stuff. You're not going to care. It's going to go out and figure out what you're doing and what you're going to do, and here's your numbers. I think we're close to that in some ways. There's no comprehensive system really that does it already, but that's where we're heading. You're exactly right. It
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how quickly will AI be able to adapt to things like somebody throwing a tariff out there, or an invasion from another country? How does that?
It's a good question. I guess it's all dependent on those models. I suspect it'll be pretty much immediate, but yeah, we'll have to see. All right, all these new models, these AI systems, rather than just calling them models, these AI systems can react to real-time information already, right? You could go and ask it, what stock should I invest in today? And it'll use real-time information to give you the wrong answers and things like that. But you can just ask me for the wrong answer and then, invest in something else. And you said,
well, you would think with AI, they'd be able to do a better job with weather forecasts.
Yeah.
Never going to happen. It's a weatherman's job. They have a very good hold on not being right. Just leave them alone. Mark, you're obviously, I know Inside Works, has headquarters in Canada, in the Calgary area, and obviously you do offer your products, I think, worldwide. I think almost worldwide, everywhere. Do you see a big uptick? I mean, obviously you've been in the North American space for decades now, multiple decades. is there a big uptick, in terms of what you're offering outside of the North American space? I mean, I don't know how other countries think of different products coming from different countries, but where do you see, obviously changes happening overseas, but given that they work very differently sometimes, overseas has sustainability, things to worry about and deal with, and quality, and they do banking completely differently than the North American space could ever think of in life. But how do you see Insight Works and the worldwide space of Business Central? How are you seeing that in your footprint?
Yeah, it's interesting. Luckily, we don't deal with the two examples you mentioned, sustainability and banking. But on the manufacturing side, it does feed metrics into the sustainability stuff. But Asia, Australia, those areas are definitely picking up. And this is a lot of it is sort of, we're following Microsoft's lead. As they're growing their market share in those areas, we're seeing more demand. We've had an office in the Netherlands now for a few years, and that area is growing. But there's a lot of history there in the Business Central world where it used to be NAV, and everything was very localized, right? So if you had somebody doing software, for NAV in Europe, like you wouldn't even know about them in North America, or vice versa. You have big players in North America, nobody in Europe's even heard about them. Now it's a truly global product. You go to AppSource, you've got guys from Sierra Leone publishing apps, or Serbia or whatever, right? All over the place that anybody can get access to. So it is becoming a lot more global, and we're seeing a lot more growth, in the European market for sure. But there's still a little bit of that where, people sort of favor their local suppliers. Now, as far as, overall, like the ratio between sort of North America, Europe, I wouldn't necessarily say it's changed that much. Even with all the challenges going on in the supply chain, we're still seeing a lot of demand in North America for, warehousing, manufacturing, retail, everything else. I think part of that is it's almost like what we saw in COVID, where people are trying to do more with less, right? So to your point earlier, you're trying to improve your efficiencies. You're bringing new software that can, maybe not downsize, but use those people that are being displaced in other areas of the business and improving your growth potential and your cost savings. So yeah, we're still seeing a lot in North America, maybe because people are trying to do more with less. And we're seeing a lot in Europe for other reasons. Primarily just, it's a matter of people recognizing what's available to them and starting to use it.
So, Mark, I was at your partner conference in Toronto last year, and I know that you were working on getting one over in Europe. Did that ever come to fruition? Are you still working on that?
Sorry, getting which over in Europe? A conference. Yeah, we almost did it this year, but we got pretty slammed. So we will do another one, conference in North America next year, probably in the Rockies. So it'll be my goal is to make it an interesting one where you can fly in with a helicopter if you don't want to take the bus and things like that. So anyway, we'll see what happens. We shouldn't have let that leak, because if that doesn't work now, everybody's going to be sad they can't get on a helicopter. But we'll likely do another conference next year, ideally in Europe and North America.
Awesome. That was a great conference last year.
Oh, yeah, it's good to hear. Yeah, I thought it went pretty well.
Mark, do you, of everything that you have a plethorage of apps that are out there, free and not free. And one that intrigued me these last couple of years has been your obviously your what I call counter sale one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's got functionality, does many things. Do you see that one kind of encroaching, and I hate to use the word encroaching, because on other POS providers, and I'm not talking, I'm not talking like a Square, like the one that comes with their little software, the whole thing. Yep, it, I'm talking about anything else that actually is offered, the little that's offered in our BC space. But do you see kind of growing it and kind of like looking at a different, say, like, I hate using this example, but we all need a laugh on a Friday afternoon here. So do you see like getting involved with cannabis, doing a POS, a counter sales for cannabis? And because that's becoming that needs a POS? How do you sell? Or do you see it getting into the grocery world where now you got more complexity? Or are you more going to be like, I'm going to put my thing in a department store kind of thing? Where do you see kind of counter sales going? Because it intrigued me so much because we do use it in several, a few customers. That's why I'm kind of wondering where your head is maybe.
Yeah, so we've actually had that thing for years. We didn't actually move it up to AppSource and start selling with Business Central until a few years ago, really. But I mean, I think, I'm came from the development side. I think I built the first version of that in like 2009 or something, and it's only been a few years since we've kind of started selling it hard in Business Central. And what it was intended for was really professional retail, right? So where you have a warehouse with an outlet store, you manufacture and have a parts counter, or something like that. So it's traditionally been in those sorts of things where you go up to a trade desk, you want to buy, drywall or concrete supplies, and you want to talk to a sales guy, or you might be grabbing stuff off the shelf to get scanned in or whatever. So that's kind of where we started with. And that's still sort of what we market to, but we're finding tons of, traditional retail people out there need something simple, low cost, that runs in Business Central and just works. And, I don't think we're encroaching on, the incumbent players in the Business Central world, because, there's the big guy in the room, and they're too big. We're not going to, they're after the chains and the large guys. We're not going to sort of live in that world. And there's some smaller POS guys out there as well. We'll go up against them, I think, at some point. But really, we're focused on that right now, that professional retail. But what we're taking it towards is a lot more of that traditional retail, a clothing store that, they want the 2-screen, POS terminal where the customer sees stuff and could, all that kind of stuff. So that's where we're going. We're still doing a lot of parts stores, like automotive parts, the traditional, building supply stuff. And what we're finding actually is where it used to be, one store, like a parts counter at a manufacturing facility or something like that. We're now finding most of the counter sales is going into 5-10 store, environments. The last one I did was 30 stores. So we are seeing that growth there. Whether we verticalize it to cannabis or grocery, I don't think we'd ever get into grocery. We're not a traditional, higher grade 10 student to tap on the screen or whatever. But it's still going to be largely focused on that professional retail where you want to go up and maybe talk to somebody about what they have in stock or what's coming or, those types of things.
Well, I know we're coming up against our time here, and I want to be, respectful of everybody's time. And it is a Friday afternoon for all of us here, trying to get to the weekend, as one would say, and call it a week. But we always like to ask our guests one question. What hobbies do you have? What do you like to do when you're not thinking Insight works in Business Central and AI?
I go home and sit in my chair and veg out. No, my wife and daughter recently got into horses. My wife used to do, horse riding when she was younger. So that is my after hours, I was going to say responsibility, but my after hours enjoyment. Yes,
that's a cheap hobby.
Yeah. So it was going and dealing with the horses. So that's basically
excellent. I love it. I mean, yeah, we all have great things, but Mark, the three amigos want to thank you so much for joining us, on a Friday afternoon here at the end of September. Everybody, you can see Mark at Dynamics Community Summit coming up in October, the 19th to the 23rd. See him there. Also, you'll see him at Directions EMEA in Poznan, Poland. In November, early November, so you can see him and his team there as well. But you'll always see him all around the community because he does his webinars both online, and he also helps out a lot of our community road shows and meetups and regionals. He's always there with him and his team, speaking about the industry, the products that he offers, and everything in between. So again, a big thank you, Mark, for joining us today. Other than that, as always, BC3 Amigos says goodbye. Adios.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.